Hey everybody, and Happy New Year's if you're viewing it on New Year's Day. If not, welcome back to the channel. So today, as the title suggests, we're going to build a TV stand slash end table thing, and I'll show you the finished product, and then I'll show you how I build it. So this is the finished product, and stick around and I'll show you how I built it. This is the day after Christmas, 2019. And hope everybody had a great Christmas, got all the presents they wanted. I got a few tools, that's all I ever asked for, and some clothes. So everything's great. But today we're not gonna work on the house, we're gonna be working on a little special project. I give my mom a big flat screen TV for Christmas. And she's the old school, got the old tube type. I think hers is probably like a 40-inch. Sitting on the TV stand, you know, so I told her she didn't want to put the TV on the wall, so I told her I would build her a TV stand, country style, kind of like a farmhouse table, except it's going to be basically a TV stand. And if y'all be able to tell here, it's going to be 18 inches tall, 20 inches wide, and 50 inches long. That's how I need it. And so what we're going to do is we're going to build it all out of this 1x4 tongue and groove. The legs will be 1x4, 90 degrees from each other, so it'll be two 1x4s per corner, 90 degrees. We'll have a piece that goes between the legs up on the table, and then the table itself. So I've never built a farmhouse table. I've seen a few built on YouTube. It don't look that hard. Now it's going to be a little more difficult for me because I don't have the setup. I don't have the. I've got some pipe clamps, and I may end up using them, but I don't really have a great setup for that. So first thing we're going to do, she wants it stained, so we're going to have to gather up some of these boards and take them down to the barn and plane them. So I think what I'm going to do is look for, I got to figure out how many boards I'm going to actually need. I'm going to look for the best ones with the tongue still attached to most of it. Like, well, some ain't got any bad spots, real bad spots, I'll probably cull. And I'll take them down there and we'll plane them out. All right, so I've got 11 boards. I think that's going to be plenty. And basically what I was looking for was they need to have a good groove and a good tongue. And no big bad defects. So most of these is pretty good. Now a little dents here and there. It's not that big a deal. It just gives character. I just didn't want any bad knots or holes or stuff like that. A lot of nail, like this one's got a lot of nail holes. I may put it back and get a different one. Well, about 2 hours later I'm back, and I think it turned out pretty well. The light in here ain't the best, but you can see it cleaned up. I did run through the planer 4 times, and I'll show you a little short video on that. As you can see, they were going through pretty well. I was only having an issue with the adjustment screw bolt handle turning and loosening up on the planer. But other than that, it did pretty well. Just took a lot, but there was a lot of discrepancy in thicknesses between these boards. There was one board that never did really clear up, so I ended up scrapping it and coming back and getting 2 more. So here are the boards I have chosen for the top. I wish they were all like this. This is just pure straight grain, no knots. Here's another one that's in pretty good shape. This will be the end piece. I've already cut off the groove, kept the tongue. But most of them's gonna be a little knotty. It's not a big deal, it's just knotty. It's just the way they are. This was actually probably not prime, not premium quality wood here. It's probably just whatever they had. On this one, I kept the groove and I cut off the tongue. Of course, it all had to be sanded out. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of this wood glue, and I'm going to glue them together, and then I'm going to take some pipe clamps I got over there and clamp them up. And tomorrow I'll come back and I'll cut the ends on both ends. This one's short here. Let me zoom out here. But it's actually longer than what I need, so all of them's too long. So what I'll do is I'm not gonna even bother fooling with the ends. I've got enough, I believe, to do what I gotta do on the stiles. I kept the groove and just cut the tongue off on those. The groove will go up, it'll be hidden. And then on the legs, I cut both of them off. So they're a good bit thinner, as you can see, but they'll be put together, you know, like this, 90 degrees. So that's gonna be plenty big. It's still almost 3 inches wide here. So I needed 18-inch pieces, and I think I'll be able to get them out of those 3 boards there. Let's see. I will double check. I could get some out of some of this scrap, but if I have to, I'll just go down there and do it again. I don't think I'll have to, but anyway, I'll set you up and we'll get to gluing. Okay, so this first part is going to be pretty much just like any farmhouse table build. You're going to build a tabletop. So, of course, I am ill prepared today. I didn't have a little brush for my glue, so I'm going to end up having to use my finger. But basically, we're just going to go along and we're going to glue this stuff together, just like this. And hopefully, I've got them all planed to the same thickness where they'll go together nice and won't have no thick edge, hopefully. I ran them all through, so we'll start with that one. So I'm gonna just take a little bit of glue, and I'm not worried too much about the ends because that's gonna get cut off anyway. Mainly, I'm looking for 50 inches. So 50 inches is roughly from outside to outside of these sawhorses. So that's where I'm going to glue. Everybody, next day, I've already took the pipe clamps off. Yesterday before I left, I put some wood putty in the nail holes. Of course, we'll end up ripping these, not ripping them, but cross-cutting them there and there. But I got to thinking, I meant to put a shelf on this thing, so I got up out here today and I went and got some more of this lumber planed down to build a shelf under it. I think we'll get started with some sanding, and unfortunately I don't have a the sanding pads I need with my little electric sander, so I'm gonna have to drag out my air sander, and this little air compressor I got up here isn't worth a flip. Okay, so I think what I'm gonna do first is go ahead and cut it to length. And got this, I don't know if this is really gonna be what I need, but basically I'm just gonna take this and I'm gonna square it up. Use my square here, and we'll just clamp it down. We'll double check it, but I put a fine tooth blade in my saw. The other one, I really need to replace the other blade, but I need to get another. Another construction style. This is a 40 tooth. And it's left hand, so I need to come on this side and cut. That way I don't cut as much. Maybe I may need to go a little further. One hole right here. I did have a little bit of chip out. Not that it's no big deal. I'm going to round over all the edges. So, not a big deal. I like these little quick grips. They're pretty handy. Alright, so now we're going to grab a tape measure. So I need 50 inches for the table. That's the wide. That's as wide as the TV is. On this one, I should be able to just mark at the 50-inch mark and just run my thing across here. And it should be square, but I'm going to double check just to make sure it's square after I get it set up. And now, here's what I've got to figure out is how far back I need to be for this. So, I hope y'all can see what I'm doing. So it looks like the edge of that blade is roughly 1 inch and 1/8 from the edge of the slide. So I need to come back 1 inch and 1/8 to set that up. So almost like I got the bind right there, so maybe that wasn't near as square as I thought it was. Sure did that. Like I said, the only thing I didn't really think about was how these tongue and grooves gonna look on the ends. Probably should have thought about that. I could glue a little filler piece in. I think I'm gonna just leave it. It looks kind of good. All right, so there's our tabletop. Of course, now if you're like some folks on YouTube and OCD as hell, you can take your time and square it up. make it perfectly square. I'll show you how bad off I am. I got 54 and 11/16. Yeah, 54 and a half. So I am 3/16 off. 3/16 off out of square. Do you think anybody would be able to tell that's 3/16 out of square? No. No. Now I gotta do a whole lot of sanding. All right, everybody, I had to take this down to the farm and use my big air compressor because it was so uneven. Apparently that planer cannot plane an even thickness. And so I don't know how these are going to do, but of course they're not as, I don't guess it's as critical on the shelf to be flat and smooth. But I took some 80 grit sandpaper and I knocked these edges down good. And it's still got some high spots, but it's a whole lot better than it was. I also had to go back and touch up a couple of cracks here. I got one here I got to get, and a couple over here. And what I'm using is this stainable wood filler. So be sure if you're going to stain it, your wood, that it's a stainable type filler, not a, some fillers do not take stain well and it'll be a different color. I also went ahead and cut my legs out. These are 17 3/4. No, I'm sorry, these are 17 1/4 because I want the total height to be 18 inches. So on these I'll have to fill in a few little nail holes. And on one set of them I'll need 2 good edges, so this one's not a good one. And on the other side I can get by with 1 good edge. And I wish, that's rat poop. I might have to do something with that. I didn't realize that these boards, there's one board in here that had that on it. So I may end up having there's another one. Most of them did not. So it's just these 2 pieces right here. So I may try to use a different piece of wood over here. I just need 2 pieces, so it ain't that big a deal. What we're gonna do with these, like I said, we're gonna use a pocket hole. So like on this one, that's good on both sides. And I can fill that little spot in, it won't be no big deal. So we'll use it like this. Actually, I guess it'll be like this. We'll cover up this hole, and we'll put our screws in this board here on the back side. We'll glue it and screw it onto this board, like that right there. And then we'll mount it one way or the other. All right, everybody, welcome back to day 3. Yesterday, I managed to get the legs made. And what I did was I glued them and I put pocket screws in, and then I went back and cut one side down to make it even with this. Because it looked long, it was too long on one side than the other. So I just took my table saw, ripped them down, and that's the one I had to make up. So now I also went this morning and got some sanding pads for my electric sander because it's kind of wet outside and it's just not a good day to be running back and forth to the barn. So I've got some 220, some 180, and some 80. So that'll work to get everything sanded down. I just turned this the tabletop over to use it as a table. And here's my little Craig jig setup. This is I got this on Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description. It works pretty well. It just uses a clamp. So basically, whichever one you're wanting to clamp. Let's say I wanted to put this one on. I want to make sure that this clamp was on the finished face, so the other one has to be on this side. And of course you got to set it up for the thickness. But once you got it clamped in there, then you just take your drill and drill your hole out. It works really well. Once you get the thickness set up, you got to set your depth on your drill bit and the thickness on your gauge here, and it works. So I will continue to use these pocket screws to install the feet to the bottom, and I'll also go back with some other wood to kind of secure it. I'll also be using it to install the rails to the feet, or however you want to call it, rail style, whatever. I think it's called the rails. But so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to get try to get everything sanded down and installed, and then I can come back and figure out how I'm going to do my shelf. I think I'm just going to basically have my feet up here like this, and then I'm going to, of course, have my rail across here and across there, and then I'm going to just probably come down here with another rail and just put the shelf across there even with that rail, so it won't come all the way out to the front. I don't see no reason to have a shelf all the way out the front. It's just going to be basically for like a cable box and the VCR DVD combo thing she's got, so I think that'll work pretty well. And I won't take up all the wood either. So I'm not going to bore you to death on getting everything sanded down. I'm going to go to sanding. I've already took my wood filler and patched in the holes on the rails. I'll get these sanded down and we'll get these attached. I'll bring you back when I'm ready to attach the legs to the tabletop here. All right, everybody, I've got everything sanded down to 180. And some of it's 220. I got the rails 220, the rest of it's 180. I think 180 is really good enough for this kind of work, because I mean, this ain't perfect, so I mean, I got it as good as I'm gonna get it without just hand planing it. So I want to round over the edge of this table, and what I did on the legs is I just used my sander and I just rounded over the edges real good on both ends here and in the middle. And because I'll stain it all, I'll only polyurethane this part here from here to here. And what I'll do in here is whichever's the front, which I think this is going to be the front, we will put them where they won't be seen. So I'll probably turn around like that corner there. Well, the back corner ain't much way you can do it. You might can do it this way, but I'll try my best to keep it where they're not seen. I could go back and put in a bunch of filler, but I don't think it's worth the hassle. But I bought this little palm sander yesterday from Home Depot with a gift card I got for Christmas. And I got a rounding over bit in it. And of course, you always want to practice on something before you actually do it. So I took this piece of wood that I had ripped and I rounded over, and it's a perfect round over. It isn't indented into the top or nothing. It's just smoothed over, and that's what I want. So I'm gonna go around this whole tabletop with this and get it all rounded over like that. Alright, so this is going to be the front, and I'm not going to worry about sanding it right now. We'll have to do some more sand. I'm going to actually have to sand the back some too. So I'm on the bottom because I'm going to stain the bottom as well. So it'll have to be stained. It'll have to be sanded before it can be stained. So I'm going to go ahead and sand it now, then we'll lay out our lines for where we want the legs to go. I'm still debating on taking some 3/4 stock, piece right here, and putting it on the edge, you know, probably you can 45 it there, and it'll just make it look a little thicker. Maybe you can see a little better here. It makes the table look a little thicker. And then of course the legs will go, you know, up under there like that. Alright, so I sanded this down to 80 grit, and I went ahead and marked my corners 1 inch from each edge. That way if I want to go back with that 3/4 inch strip, I'll have room. This is the back, this is the front. So of course I want it where when you're looking at the leg, you don't necessarily see this seam right here. So this will be like to the front. So I'm gonna put this one right here. Well, actually, I'm gonna go ahead and mark this one right here with an X, so I know which piece to put the screw in. I'm going to just lay it like that. And we'll do the same thing with this one. This would be a good one right here. So we'll put an X on this one. Lay it there. And then of course from the back, same way. We want to hide the seams. Unfortunately, you will be able to, if you look under it, which is only 18 inches high, nobody's really going to be looking under it except for kids. You'll be able to see these pockets, but it's not, I don't feel like it's that big a deal as long as you can't see, you know, from the side. Again, this one, we'll put it like that. Alright, so now we've got to just cut our pockets, and we'll put a little glue on it, and then we'll screw it to the face. Now the screws I'm using are the coarse thread, 1 1/4 inch, and you can get fine thread for hardwood, and I think, you know, for pine, the coarse thread works fine. So what I'm going to do is put a little bit of glue in my little square right here, get the thing open. Clean that out. Tip this thing is cleaning somehow or another. I thought I had it all the way. Right, so we're going to make sure that we got it going the right way. I probably would have went ahead and done the other side first. I get my little screw started in the hole. I get this thing lined up on my. Let's see, I need to put a little. I think I'm going to put a little glue on here as well, just to make sure that I got it covered good. It looks pretty good. Position. Okay. Now since I've only got it screwed on one side, I could have went back and put another pocket on the other side, but the reason I didn't is I'm going to put that block of wood in there, a piece of 2x whatever, 2x4 there. I'm going to glue a block of wood in there good, and it'll all be covered up with the rails so they never see it no way. And of course, once we get our rails screwed in on, you know, 2 per side, it's going to lock everything down good anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and finish doing the legs, and I'll bring it back. Okay, so I've already got the rails on, and I run into a little bit of issue on that one leg. That wood had a funky cut to the grain, and it wanted to blow out with me, but Anyway, I'm gonna show you the second one, and this is a finer grain. This is a prettier wood. I'm gonna put this in the front. And what I've done is I've cut 2 holes here, and 2 on the bottom, and 2 more on the end. And we'll just go in like that. And of course we'll glue it to the legs. This wood here will split real easy because it's such a fine grain to it. I'm glad I didn't use it to build legs with it. And we'll just slip it in. Move that just to her. Get them evened up. Stick a screw in each end. You'll probably be able to see this. Maybe wheel this one. Maybe. Make sure even as can be. These pocket jigs, I think that kit cost about $100. Might have been cheaper than that. I bought it off Amazon, but I tell you, if you're gonna do much woodworking like this, you need a pocket jig. It definitely is a handier way than the old dowels, and I've even got an old biscuit cutter. And I bought that biscuit joiner probably 30 years ago. I used to like doing this stuff when I was younger. I kind of got out of habit of it. Alright, so that's pretty much on there. Now we're just going to go ahead and measure and cut the other 2 styles. And we're actually going to cut 4. We're going to have 1 down here, and we're going to have 1 here somewhere for the shelves to sit on. So I've got this piece right here. It's a pretty nice piece. I'm not sure if it's going to be long enough to do all 4 of them. If it didn't, I've got some spare pieces floating around here that I can make work. So we'll get this thing measured up and get them cut, and we'll be back. Okay, got all the rails on, and of course I had 2 blowouts. It really wasn't, the screw didn't stick all the way through, but the way the grain was, it split the grain. This grain, especially pine, you have to be careful with the way that cut was made, or it easily blows it out. So I got 1 here and 1 over there, and it wasn't worth it to me to redo the 2 legs. I'll just sand it down best I can. And I mean, it's rustic. All right, this ain't no professional $2,000 TV stand. You know, this is a homemade rustic TV stand. So I've got the shelves made for the shelf. So I've got the rails in for the shelf. So it'll be 6 inches off the floor at the bottom of the rail, and then the shelf is going to be attached to that. Now, I didn't think about this when I put this in, but I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to attach this shelf, to be honest with you, because I don't believe I'm going to be able to get my brad nailer in here. I'm going to try to brad nail it, but I may just have to glue it. All right, I'm going to get this out of the way, because now we've got to put our shelf together, and I'm going to need 4 more pieces glued together, plus I'm going to have to cut some. So I'm actually going to glue 5 pieces together, and then we'll rip it down to whatever 14.5 inches we got right here tomorrow. We'll get it glued together today and rip tomorrow. And then we'll go to, don't look too bad. Don't look too bad at all. It's gonna be kind of a little more difficult to get to that stuff. I should have put that shelf a little lower. And I still could. Actually, I could put a piece down here and just let the shelves butt into that wood right there. That's another option. I might do that instead. All right, everybody, it's day 4. Let these cure overnight. Hopefully they'll be good and sturdy. And we can move on with our cutting them to fit. I use this brush with the glue, and of course it's trash now. Alright, so there's the shelves. I will say that these are not as even as I was hoping they would be. I've also got black marks from that dang pipe all over, but I think that'll sand off. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and square up one end, and then I'll cut the other end a little long, and then we'll rip it, and then I'll cut this end to fit. Because remember, we're a little off square by about 3/8 of an inch. So one end might be 48, the next end might be 47 and 11/16 or 13/16, something like that. 3/8 of an inch, so it'll be 3/8 minus that. So it's gonna be a little different. And I'm not even sure if one side's gonna be square, so we'll leave it about 1 inch long. All right, so unfortunately, this camera fogged up on me, and I don't know why. It's not that cold or humid in here. My table saw is about wore out. I think the guide fence, the fence is for some reason it got off a little bit cutting that top, but I'm only an 1/8 out on one end, so it's not the end of the world. So at least the camera is looking a little better. All right, so I want to put this in here and get it evened out. So that's the top, this is the bottom. And we got a good bit of wobble to it. Of course, these damn things here may not be level either, because ain't nothing else I'm cutting level, so probably ain't level. You know, I ain't got the best setup for woodworking. I need a big stationary table saw, big radial arm saw. I need all that equipment. You really, to do a good job, you really kind of need good equipment. We get by with what we got, but it ain't ideal. All right, so hopefully when I mark this, when I put it on the other end, it'll be the same way. So I'm going to set it right here. I'm going to mark across here. Mark across here. Got good lines on both. I'll set it right here, and then I'll saw it. And I'm probably just going to freehand it, because setting up all the stuff I'd have to set up, it really ain't worth the hassle. Like I said, this thing ain't perfect. better job of gluing these panels. I see one panel that that planer I got, it ain't hitting on much either, that damn D-wall. Not happy with that, cause I ran every one of these boards through, and this board here is still high. Alright, so now it's just gonna be a bunch of sanding. Alright, so I've got this shelf cut. Not really happy about it, but for what it is, you know, for my first time, and I hadn't really woodworked in 20 years or more. You know, I could have done better. You know, I blew out a couple places. Tried to glue it back, but my clamp just wouldn't reach down that far to really give it a good clamping. So we'll just live with what we got. I got a lot of sanding to do. I got to sand all this, all the rails and the legs again. I'm gonna sand this down, get it fairly flat. And then we'll go to staining. I'll get this table stained all on the bottom, and this I'll probably go ahead and stain the bottom of this shelf, and then I'll flip it over and stain the top, and then we'll flip the table up and sand and stain the top of it. Well, I'll probably go ahead and sand it, and then I'll just stain everything one time. So I'll bring you back when we get everything stained up. All right, everybody, end of day 4, I've got everything stained on the bottom and the bottom of the shelf. I will come back tomorrow with a Q-tip and get inside these holes here. But I just did this with a rag. You can tell some of this different color pine's gonna be lighter. Like some of it's gonna look a lot like oak. This light's not very good in here. But I'm afraid one piece or a couple pieces is gonna be much lighter, so we'll see. But this is supposed to be golden oak, the color. And it might be a tad darker than I wanted, but anyway, tomorrow we'll come back. I'll finish sanding the top of that. We will touch up anything on here that I missed, and we'll flip it over. We'll stain the tops of both the shelf and the top of this, and then probably let that dry. The next day we'll come back and polyurethane it. So it's probably going to be, tomorrow's Monday, Tuesday, maybe Wednesday or Thursday. I should be done with this. So of course I'm dragging it out a lot longer than I need to. I could just come back later this afternoon and this stuff will be dry in an hour. I could probably come back and do it then, and I might come back. All right, it's been about 3 hours. I come back down here and touched up underneath with some Q-tips and got all the holes, and then I turned them over, sanded the tops, and got these stained up. I think it turned out real well, except for this striped one. I wished I'd got all knotty pieces. It looked more even. This is kind of stained weird, but this was the color I was going for, so this is almost a red. And there's the shelf. I really like this first piece here, the way the grain looks. It almost looks oak, but you know, I think it turned out pretty well. I'll try to put this in the front. I don't know how it's going to go. I don't know. We will see. And I also went ahead and over here on the sides where the tongue and groove are, I don't know if you'll be able to tell, but I filled that in with putty. And of course the putty didn't stain as well as I wanted it to. So it didn't really take the stain good. So I mean, you can look and you can see where the marks are. Let's see. I can't really see a big one, you know, but there was something big over here. I guess it was that knot right there. You can kind of see if I can get my. It just didn't really take the stain good, but you know, I'm gonna call this my 10-foot table. It looks great from 10 feet, and of course this is the back, so You won't even be able to see this piece here. Once the TV's on there, it'll all be covered up, so that'll be fine. Anyway, I'll bring you back tomorrow. We'll start putting on some poly. Alright everybody, it is day 4, I think. And I just put me some wood up here where I can get this table up off the, where I can work on this table here, because we are ready to put our first coat of polyurethane on here. And what I'm using is this water-based semi-gloss. And the only reason I'm using it is because that's what I got. I would have got a gloss. I'd really prefer a gloss, but I think this will work. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put one coat over everything, including the shelf. I'm gonna let that dry overnight. We'll come back tomorrow with some steel wool. We'll scrub it with steel wool. We'll put a second coat on everything. Or I could come back this evening, but I got some stuff to do. But it needs at least 2 coats. 3 would be better. So in between coats, you wanna sand it. I like using steel wool and then coming back with a tack cloth. And of course, always before you even start, it's a good idea to double check, make sure you didn't miss any staining. Because anywhere you didn't stain, you put this on here, it's forever not going to be stained. I see a little bit of white on this front right here I don't like. So maybe you can see it's a little bit of white in through here and a little bit up in this area. This was kind of away from me when I stained, so it didn't get all the stain it needed. So I'm going to go back again with it. Alright, so when you look at this polyurethane, it's going to look milky. Alright, so you don't want to put it on too wet, or you don't want to get bubbles in it. So what I like to do is just use a foam brush, go with the grain. Alright, 1 coat of polyurethane on, and it's like the top here on this one. Basically, the way I do it is I just lather it out, and then I come back and make long brush strokes, front to side, all the way up and down, get everything good and even. Go around the edges. Now, if it's a little bit milky looking, that's fine. Usually that'll clear up, but if you have a glob of air bubbles, it's just going to take a little more sanding to get those out. So I just like to have a light coating over everything. Let's see where I went back over this and darken those areas up. It's pretty good, and that wasn't no problem to poly over that. And I did not do the insides. That's on the back side of the boards. So to me, it's just not worth the hassle. I stained them so they wouldn't show up so bad, but other than that, I'm not gonna fool with it. So I just finished steel wooling the legs and the rails, and all I really like is the top. I want to bring y'all in and show you what I'm doing here. So when you apply poly, when it dries, it's gonna feel rough. It's gonna feel like sandpaper. Now they say sand it, but I ain't never sanded it. Don't like the idea, because you don't want to take that layer off. You just want to smooth it out. So triple aught steel wool is the ticket. So you just rub it. It's kind of like if you ever use a clay bar on an automobile. You're just rubbing this steel wool over this wood, and when you go back and fill over it, it's going to feel slick as glass. It ain't going to be none of this sandpaper. Now you also going to be able to feel any imperfections like this piece that's trying to pop up right there. And it's also kind of going to dull it down just a little bit. And you can do this as many times as you put poly on. Always go back after it dries between coats and steel wool. Now this is how I do it. This is what I learned. I can't tell you where I learned it. It's been a long time. But this is what I learned, and it works good. So once you get done with the steel wool, you need to tack it off. If you got a air gun, you can blow it off, but I still like to tack it. And you can get tack cloth pretty cheap at the box stores. These are a little more expensive, but they're more for automobile paints. But it's going to work either way. So you can see we're picking up a little bit of that dust from the poly. You're taking off a small layer of poly when you fill wood. You're just not taking it all the way off. And that's all you want to take off, that layer that's uneven. Of course, we got to do the sides, the legs, anywhere that we polyurethane, we got to tack it. Alright, final coat, and of course right now it's kind of wet. It still looks kind of shiny, but I can still tell it's pretty wet. This, remember, it is a semi-gloss, so it won't dry to a high shine. It'll be kind of satiny. There's the table. It's, like I say, this light ain't the best. You can kind of see a few streaks right in here. That's milky, but that'll dry up. So I'm happy with that. Tomorrow we'll come in and I'll put it together. Hopefully I can brad nail it. I'm gonna put a little bead of glue and brad nail it, and hopefully that'll be all I need to do. If not, I can clamp it and glue it overnight, but I'd rather not because it's supposed to start raining Thursday. Today is Tuesday, New Year's Eve. Hope everybody has a safe and wonderful New Year's Eve and holiday. Alright, finished product, and I'm not real happy with this shelf here. It's a little tall, so I'm thinking I'm going to probably come back and lower that shelf down, but I need to go ahead and give her this table because I'm just going to be gone for 2 weeks, and she needs to have that other TV. It'll work fine for the cable box, but I'm worried it's just not a whole lot of room right here for that VCR DVD combo thing she's got. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I just brad nailed these here and here on both sides, just keep it from coming loose. I didn't glue it. I may come back and redo this shelf, cut it down, and go in between here, these two boards. That's my plan. Wouldn't be too hard. I just have to take this shelf out and then cut it down 1.5 inches, and it'd work. Alright, so hope you enjoyed this long video, and if you did, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, give me a thumbs down. If you want to see more, please subscribe, ring that bell.